Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Swastika, and today we would be discussing something very important. But before we move on and we go on to discuss things, I would request you to please press the subscribe button. That's the red button at the bottom of the screen. So today we are officially kickstarting the first episode of Understanding Political Science for Dummies. And because this is the first episode and the first thing, I am going to kickstart it with my favorite book. This is my favorite book. It's the Oxford Companion to Politics in India. People who have studied political science know about it. I studied it for like 8 years. It's going to be my ninth year of studying political science. This is my favorite book, and in this we are going to study this chapter. This is the about tracing the intellectual history of the study of political science, and this is by Rudolph and Rudolph. So the reason we are kickstarting with this chapter in this book is because this chapter essentially discusses and tells us more about how political science as a discipline evolved in India. Every country has its own evolution. So political science in France, how it evolved is very different, or maybe how it evolved in Britain is very different to how this discipline evolved in India. So today we are going to study the origin and the evolution of political science from this chapter. Also, some people ask that why is it different? Why is the evolution of political science not same in France if it is different, and it is different in India than it is to Britain or France? That's because all these countries have a different history. They've undergone different socio-economic processes of development, and they've had different history. So let's get down to it. So India, when we talk about the Indian case, has a colonial legacy, right? हमें आज़ादी मिली थी, इंडिया इंडिपेंडेंट हुई थी 1947 15th August, right? But उससे पहले जो है, उससे कई several decades, even a century before, more than a century before, we were ruled by the colonial empire. By that I mean the Britishers. They ruled us, they economically exploited us, they just took from us because we were unable in not in a position to compete with their resources, their information on things. So they exploited us endlessly, and we were under their rule for a century and a half. So because of this, because of us constantly being under the colonial rule, it has very sharply impacted how we study things, how we educate ourselves, how we studied education in India, right? So when we study political science, the first thing is that we didn't have a discipline of political science before 1947. Back in 1816 1815 कोई कुछ भी पढ़ा दे वही बड़ी बात थी. पॉलिटिकल साइंस तो पता भी नहीं था लोगों को है क्या. वो तो काफ़ी बाद में आके डेवलप हुआ in 1960s, that we start seeing it as a discipline in itself and not a corollary of economics or some other department of social science. So two important things are that in the colonial India, political science was impacted hugely by the British colonial rule. The second thing is the nationalist response to the British colonial rule, how that shaped political science in India. So going back even more, going back to 1857, going back to the 1830s, let's trace the history. So in 1830s, there were two prominent ways of thinking. One was the way put forward by Thomas Macaulay, which emphasized on the need of Western education, which emphasized on the need of educating in the English language, and forcefully implementing this education of English language on Indian people, on indigenous tribes, right? We see something similar happening to Assam today, where tribes like Misings and Deoris are being brushed aside, and the Assamese language is being implemented, trying to being implemented uniformly in the entire country, something like that. I'm just trying to link things to current affairs because I think that makes the entire thing easier, and it also teaches you how to interlink चीज़ों को कैसे interlink करते हो. जो सबसे ज़्यादा हम interlink करते हैं वो history को हम present से कैसे interlink कर सकते हैं. We should keep trying to look for these interrelationships. So Thomas Macaulay in 1835 came up with the Minute of Education, which said that I want to educate everyone in English language regardless of what their indigenous language is. So there was another second school of thought which emerged as in opposition to Thomas Macaulay by William Jones, which talked about Orientalism. So this basically said that if these people want to study in Sanskrit, then let them study in Sanskrit. Why do you want to implement and force them to understand things in English? Unka indigenous language Sanskrit hai, so let them develop their study according to their way of studying, and let's not force ourselves. But this didn't happen. Eventually, in 1835, Macaulay's Minute on Education came up, and we were forced to study in English. Right. So this William Jones, who was in opposition, who came up with the Orientalist faction of learning things, was brushed aside, and from then onwards, we have always studied in English till today. So the idea behind this Minute of Education was to create a class of people who were Indian in blood, but English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect. So the idea was to produce people who were Indian in blood. They were Indians, but they acted like English. So that was the extent of the domineering trend, and how much the colonial legacy wanted to dominate us even back then by completely removing any sign of heterogeneity. Right. So what happened now? Let's move even further. So in 20th century, in 1817, the first college came up. Okay, so that was the Hindu College in Kolkata. Now this was one of the first colleges which came up and which taught primarily in English. After this, a couple of more universities came up, like Elphinstone College, which was another English school in 1824 in Bombay. Then more leading universities came up till 1857. The Education Act of 1904, and this is much later, 1835. So we are seedha jumping to 1904 to understand the Education Act, which basically empowered universities to set up a postgraduate school. So before that, we didn't even have a postgraduate school. In 1904, when the Education Act of 1904 came up, we had our first postgraduate education center. So in 1948, post the World War, political science sort of started developing as a different discipline, and in 1960, as for the first time, we had undergraduate courses for political science. Right. But the University of Bombay was exceptional. It had a different history. It was not mainstream like all of these other colleges that I have discussed. Why? It was not mainstream because it produced thinkers like M.N. Srinivasan, and he is a very important thinker because he sort of developed the term Sanskritization, which the exact meaning is that it is a process of social mobility in India's hierarchical caste system, in which lower castes culturally emulate high caste Brahmanical culture, and he helped to launch the analytic study of caste in political science. So this is very important. He was mostly a sociological thinker, but it interlinks to political science, and hence it is important to remember him. It's very important because this is how caste studies were developed in political science in India. So University of Bombay gave us a different story. So what have we understood till now? We have understood that political science in India, like all the other subjects, like all the other things that subjects that we wanted to educate ourselves on, were clearly dominated by the colonial legacy, by Britishers, right? And when partition happened, when India and Pakistan became two separate nations, we deeply felt the impact of it, and to a certain extent, it also impacted, not to it, to a major extent, it impacted how we study political science, how we understand social sciences in India. Right, so this we understand. So the second thing that I am going to discuss today is going to be how political science, I mean, there was not a lot of study that was done about political science in India, and Edward Shills was the first person to sort of articulate the lack of study and the lack of information and the lack of analytics in social sciences in India, when in his essay, which was called The Intellectual Between Tradition and Modernity, the Indian Situation. So he basically did an ethnography of Indian intellectuals, and his conclusion from this was that political philosophy and analysis are largely in a standstill in India. Since Gandhi, there has been no new element that has been added to it. So he basically said that nothing is happening in political science in India. We are at a standstill. And he concluded this based on an ethnography that he conducted of Indian intellectuals. So ethnography is basically like a study. Like you sit down with the Indian intellectuals, you study them for quite some time, and based on what you understand, based on your observations, you pin them down and you try to draw inferences from it. So it's like a real life process that sort of happens. So Edward Shills basically said that it's at a standstill. We have had no new good political philosophers since Gandhi. So, and also he said that Jawaharlal Nehru did sort of engage in political analysis. So when we talk about Jawaharlal Nehru, we basically talk about him, and when we talk about politics in Jawaharlal Nehru, we basically talk about socialism. ठीक है, उसके उनके जो आइडियाज़ थे सोशलिज्म के, उन्होंने कैसे 5 year डेवलपमेंट प्लान्स को शेप करा, कैसे काफ़ी सारी चीज़ों में उन्होंने नए नए चेंजेस लाए, एंड ही वाज वन ऑफ द थिंकर्स हु probably had a very high stature, and he was studied also because of that, and he engaged in political analysis. And so there was very little in colonial legacy to sort of support professionalism in political science. We just had Gandhi, Nehru who obviously gave ideas of modernity, Gandhi who gave ideas of being decentralized or focusing on developing your villages rather than modern industry. So there was a debate between Gandhi and Nehru, which was important. There was also a debate between Gandhi and B.R. Ambedkar, which is also very important. B.R. Ambedkar laid the foundation stone of our constitution. He was a member of the drafting committee, and he was the reason why we have measures of affirmative action. By that I mean like reservations for people from lower castes. So Jawaharlal Nehru engaged in an analysis, Gandhi engaged in an analysis, and Edward Shills conducted a study on these people to sort of understand how things were getting shaped. But he did conclude by saying that, the one thing that he didn't mention were thinkers like B.R. Ambedkar. So he mostly said that after Gandhi, there has been no new political thinker. So till the end of the second 5-year plan in 1961, political science as a discipline did not get any attention. In fact, economics was considered it was the mainstream subject. Whenever people used to talk about social science, they used to focus on economics and not political science. So till 1961, this was a very dominant trend. So the way we had London School of Economics, उसी के parallel पे एक Delhi School of Economics they were trying to put forward. And obviously political science didn't get a lot of attention. But later some important contemporaries came up, thinkers like Amartya Sen, Jagdish Bhagwati, Tapan Ray Chaudhary, Pranab Bardhan, so on and so forth, right? So these were some of the important thinkers. But in 1963, and 1963 is just abhi kuch decades pehle, Rajni Kothari came up with the Center for the Study of Developing Studies, which was completely oriented towards political science. But before that, after 1947, it took us 15 years till the end of the 5-year plan to actually come up with a decent, more than 20 years to actually to come up with a decent idea of how we should study political science, right? And that was by Rajni Kothari in 1963. So 2-3 things, important things I have mentioned till now, I'll quickly be going over. The first thing is that not a lot was done in political science. We didn't have a lot of major thinkers except Jawaharlal Nehru, Gandhi, Ambedkar, till second 5-year plan. The third thing is thinkers like M.N. Srinivas, who was very important. And the fourth thinker is Rajni Kothari, who came up with CSTS in 1963. So these are the important things that we have to remember. And obviously, lastly, that the shadows of colonial legacy plunged our education system into an era of darkness which we probably cannot fathom and could not recover from till several decades after becoming independent. Okay, so guys, thank you so much for listening to me today, and I am not going to extend this beyond like 18 minutes, 19 minutes, because I get it gets boring, right? So please stay tuned for the next video, in which I'm going to discuss even more, and I'm going to continue this till the end of this chapter. It's a very long chapter and it's not easy to trace the history, and I'm going into the detail. I'm in depth trying to talk about things, so it's going to take time. Stay tuned for the next episodes, for the next lessons. Thank you for listening to me today.